Hi, everybody. I hope to make this training life-changing, important for you. Anybody who cares for little toddlers. What do I mean by toddler? 10 months old until about 3 or so when they can talk to you. So before they have the communication skills. I was such a good parent. I mean, amazing before I had kids. Then I found out when I had my first 1-year-old, what many of you have found out, they can be kind of, shall we say, naughty. This one word, adventurous, explorers are other words. But what happened was I knew that when I used my really serious voice, that my toddler was going to listen. So poor little Haley threw some food on the floor and I said, no. And she looked at me. If you care for toddlers, you know what look I'm talking about. So I said, no. And she went to throw food on the floor again. I said, don't you dare. Now you would stop, right? I look pretty scary. Not only did she throw food on the floor again, she laughed. Oh, I'll never forget that day. I felt so incompetent. Why is she doing that? Why do toddlers drive us so crazy? I'm going to tell you today, in the next 10 minutes, you are going to get a top strategy, one that works always to different degrees. And you will be excited to try it and use it in different ways, and we can share how it ends up working. So what behavior do they have that drives you bananas, that makes you feel crazy? What do toddlers do that you want them to stop doing? Not following directions. So how many of you have toddlers who throw things, even when you say don't throw, or climb on things, even though you try 100 times to get them down from being on the table, they still climb right back on top. Sharing. Oh, how many of you have a toddler that won't share? It's normal. It's totally normal. And boy, is it frustrating. What is something that we can do that's going to stop them from climbing, biting? Let's ask the question first, why? Do you know why? The reason my daughter threw food on the floor, even after I said no, was because she's a little scientist. So these 1 and 2-year-olds, they're trying to figure out how the whole world works. And so they do something, and then they want to figure out what's going to happen. If they like what happens, they repeat it. So here's my little toddler. She throws food on the floor and I say, no. And she goes, that's interesting. I throw food on the floor and mom looks at me and says, no. I wonder what'll happen if she does it again. So she throws food on the floor again and my face gets redder and she thinks it's so funny. Why? Because she doesn't have empathy yet. She can't put herself in another person's position. So she can't decide, oh, I don't want mom to be mad. So I'm not going to do that behavior so that mom is happy. They can't think that far ahead. All they can do is think, do it, do it. That's why they don't stop moving. That's why they take toys and throw and dump and everything that just can frustrate us so much about having a young toddler. That's why. They're little scientists trying to test, trying to figure out, how does this world work? So think about one simple thing, throwing. How many rules are there around throwing? Think about it. Can they not throw anything ever? No, they can throw a ball. Can they throw a ball inside, outside? How about a truck? Can they throw a truck? Why can't they throw a truck? They don't even know this simple game of throwing a ball back and forth where you wait till the person's looking at you. How many of you have had the experience where you're playing with the toddler, you turn to look over here to help somebody else and boom, the ball hits you in the face. They don't know. They're trying to learn all these rules. And lastly, they're an English language learner. They don't understand all the words that you say. So they're trying to read your body and figure out what exactly you mean. So I want you to read my message right now. I'm going to ask you to do something. You're grown people. You can just do it, right? Okay, so here we go. Raise your left hand. For you, it might be the opposite, right, as me. So raise your hand up and wave it. I know you're thinking, she can't see me, but pretend I can. Just do it. Wave. Okay, how about the other hand? Wave. Wave the other hand. Okay, lift your hands up in the air. Lift them up. Lift them up. Set them down on your lap. Don't sit. Don't sit. Don't sit in your chair right now. Are you listening to me, or are you misbehaving right now? You might have noticed you had a mental block for a second there. You might have gotten a look like this. Because you're trying to figure out what am I telling you to do? Well, now imagine you're in a foreign country and you don't understand the language. So very often when toddlers give you this look, they're wondering like, what? What are you saying? I don't understand. And if you get really excited and give them a lot of attention, they'll just keep doing it. So what do? That's what we want to know, right? You're waiting for that strategy. The strategy is simply to decide what you want them to do and get really excited about that. Now, this sounds simple, but I have used it in about 50 different situations with toddlers, and I can do it. I can get them to do what I want them to do, but there's some tricks to it. But the first step is we have to figure out what is the to-do. So I have a little kid, I'm at the beach, he's throwing sand, and his mom is saying, don't throw sand. And then he throws sand again. She says, don't throw sand. And he throws it again. And it goes on and on until finally I'm like, okay, I have to save her, because I know just as we had trouble standing up when we were sitting down, when I said don't sit, we had to figure out what that might mean. The toddler needs to figure out what we mean. So instead, I come up and I say, put the sand on the ground. And he looks at me. I go, put the sand on the ground. And I show with my body, because he's an English language learner. He doesn't understand all my words, especially when everything in his body is saying, throw it, just do it, right? So I have to figure out what I want the child to do. Fast forward about a year, a little guy in my family is at a family event and he grabs a remote and he starts banging it. And everybody's like, take the remote away. I go, no, watch this. What do you want him to do? Instead of banging that remote, what could that little toddler get excited about doing? If you wanted to grab that and bang that remote, would you just want to set it down? Probably not, right? So get in the toddler's brain. What would a little boy want to do that might be fun? Well, the thing I thought of, because I've been working on it for about 5 years, was drive it like a car. So I go, drive it like a car. And I'm showing him with excitement. I'm giving attention to what I want him to do. Because as Stephen Covey says, what we give attention grows. So I literally get excited about the idea of driving the remote around like a car. And guess what? He starts doing it. And I'm like, yes! Small win for the adult. It sounds exhausting. It is exhausting. Do you know you're twice as likely to be depressed when you're caring for a toddler? It is so hard. So if any of you out there have been feeling frustrated, exhausted, tired as you care for a toddler, trust me, you're not in it alone. So how about taking toys? You do not want them to take toys from other kids, but they do, because everything in their body's like, own it, do it, it's mine. So what could we have them do instead? So if they're going to take a toy away, what you might want them to do is trade. So get them excited about the idea of like, let's find a ball for Mary then. Look, now Mary has a ball and you have a ball. Yay. So you're telling them what to do. Something I learned from my puppy recently, the word give can make a big difference. So a toddler goes to take a toy and has the toy and you go, give. And you get excited about the idea of give. And then you go, yay, you are giving. And they go, ooh, this is getting attention. And they get really excited and they want to do it more. So they go to throw food on the floor. What is something that they could do instead? Don't throw food on the floor isn't going to work, because you say don't throw food on the floor. They hear throw food on the floor and they throw it on the floor. Put yourself in their little brain. They don't have our brain. Their brain is developing. So how can we get something in their little brain that would be exciting, that would be fun? So put their food in another tray or on a plate. So you could have them move it from one thing to another. One savvy parent in my parent education classes thought of putting a garbage next to their spot so they could drop the food in the garbage when they're done with it. Their toddler, yes, dropped all their food in the garbage, but they were done eating. So it gave them something to do when they were done eating, or they didn't want something on their plate, they could get it off their plate, because how else are they supposed to get the food off their plate? They're going to throw it somewhere if they don't want to look at it anymore. Whereas for you and I, we would just push it to the side. They don't think of that yet. They just think, oh, easy enough, drop it on the floor. Have them help you clean up the food on the floor. Get really excited about picking up the food and putting it in the garbage can. I would do too is I would get really excited about the food on their plate. So you could be like, oh, taste it. Is it squishy? Oh, you're eating that squishy white mashed potato. Do you feel it in your mouth? So you're giving them attention and you're talking to them, and then they want to keep doing that rather than start throwing food on the floor. Face it, often when do they start throwing food on the floor? When you're distracted, trying to talk to your partner in crime or somebody else at the table, you're checking your phone, they want your attention, they might do it to get your attention too. Let me tell you, when it comes to toddlers, as I'm wrapping up here, whatever you do, if you get really excited and you give it a lot of attention, the toddlers are going to want to do it too. So the idea today, the Naptime nugget for today, is in order to get toddlers to stop doing something, figure out what you want them to do instead. Get excited about and put your energy into that. And then the toddler will start to learn what they can do, what's exciting and what's fun, not only to get your attention, but what they can do with that item. So in closing, let me tell you, the little guy at the beach I was talking about that was throwing sand, I worked with him and I tried to get him to set the sand on the ground. He did, but then he went to throw it again. And then I started thinking, well, what else would he want to do that I could get him excited about? So I started dragging my feet in the sand and I got him to do it a little bit, but then he moved on to something else. So then we started making a pile with the sand, and then we started patting the pile, and this was it. So it took me 3 tries to get the thing that got him really excited. For the next 15 minutes, we put the pile of sand higher and higher and higher and patted the sand. And as I was doing it, I started to teach the lesson he needs to learn about throwing. Safe sand, safe sand. We're patting the sand. It's fun and it's safe. We're not hurting our friends. Oh, I love patting the sand. And there he was with me, 15, 20 minutes playing in the sand in a way that was appropriate, in a way that was okay. The end of the story is I was laying on my blanket and then they were going to leave. So I stood up to say goodbye. And this little excited Luke came running over with both hands full of sand and threw it all over my towel. Why am I laughing? The reality is they're still toddlers. So though this strategy does work, it takes a lot of work from the adult and it takes time. They need to relearn the lesson over and over before they'll finally be grown up. And trust me, once they are, mine are 17 and 22, you'll long for those little toddler magic days of past. Feel free to share this video with any of your parents or any other childcare providers or teachers or anyone who you think would find it useful. But the reason I'm here today is because I know that caring for young children is the hardest job. And I want to be there for you, and I want to help you guys be there for each other. I've loved reading your ideas and how you're supporting each other already and sharing, and that's why I love these online classes and the opportunities to work with all of you, all in our own home, gathering together on Facebook, on Adobe Connect, and in other methods.